We were more than delighted to welcome Professor Naito from Japan, and now we are lucky to welcome Professor Keusgen live on campus at the Antonine University. Thank you so much for your time. We know how tight your schedule is. Professor Keusgen actually took a stop in Lebanon for 2 hours to deliver this session, and then he's leaving. So a big round of applause for Professor Keusgen, please. I will leave it to Dr. Maroon to present Professor Keusgen, and then we will start with the session. Thank you, Dr. Khouri.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, I thank you very much for being here. You know, it's a great pleasure and a joy to see Lebanon, our beloved country, a great country, a great country, a land of our Lord, Lebanon, that people from Asia, from Europe, from Latin America, from everywhere, when they come to our country, they love it. They love us all. They love our nature as Lebanese. We are highly educated people. We are great people. Let's keep this high morale up to rescue Lebanon. The proof of this great country is what you heard from Professor Naito, what you saw Mrs. Shiga coming over here. And when it comes to Professor Keusgen, I consider him now 2/3 Lebanese because he really loves Lebanon. So he's visited the Bekaa Valley. We took him to Baalbek. He ate in Baalbek السفيحة. You ate the sfiha. You remember at the previous Minister of Health's house, Dr. Hamad Hassan, and he came to Deir al-Ahmar, and he pulled one of the rhubarb roots. He loves Lebanon. They asked me to introduce him. I asked him, he asked me yesterday, are you gonna introduce me? I said, yes. What are you going to say? I say, it's private. This morning, while I was driving him, I asked him, I said, Michael, would you like me to say something that you, he said, I thought it was private. So I'm gonna talk about him as a professor, and he is a great professor for so many years at the University of Marburg. Marburg, the university, it's a university village. It's a beautiful town. It's the university stood erect in the years 1500s. So when we talk about faculty of medicine and sciences, most of the inventions, you know, till World War II and beyond came out of that, almost of that area, almost. Professor Michael Keusgen, the Dean of the Faculty of Pharmacy at Marburg University. I don't think I need to say more, but in his, you know, profession and his endeavor, his PhD was given because he's worked on phenolic compounds. Phenolic compounds, maybe he will get the chance to talk about it. And as you well know, neurotransmitters, they contain the phenolic rings. And neurotransmitters يعني هن substances يلي بيفرزوها الأعصاب لما بيعملوا connection، بس هولي very labile، بيتفككوا بسرعة. And thank God that they're very labile. بشرح لكم بكرة ليه. So he's done a lot of work also in botanicals. There are 2 plants of garlic that carries the name of Professor Michael Keusgen because he's the one who discovered it. He travels the world, carrying his camera, going after medicinal plants. You cannot imagine what I tell my wife and my children of a walking encyclopedia when it comes to medicinal plants. Each medicinal plant and its active properties. And each active properties, where does it act, what does it act, on which system, and on which organ specifically. Professor Michael Keusgen, he represents among a group the German government in the European Pharmacopoeia. It's a group from each European country. He's one of that group. I do not talk to him at the end of the month because he'll be on a train coming from Strasbourg all the way to Marburg or leaving from Marburg to Strasbourg. Yes, yes. He loves Lebanon. He loves the Lebanese. He loves Lebanese food. And I recommend that we invite him all when he comes back, hopefully in May or in June. Today, he will be giving a very interesting lecture. I thank him very much because I come from a clinical background from Georgetown School of Medicine, and it was purely clinical. My love for research and medicinal plants, Tarfo, Talao, they accused me during Corona that I'm a herbal medicine guy. And it was an honor for me because after visiting Germany and learning about how do they deal with herbal plants, I said, I wish I could go back, few years back and, work with him on medicinal plants. I give you an example that I witnessed. For example, he would be with a group. For example, going to or planning on extraction of an active property from a plant. Let's say the leaves of olives or olive leaves. Let's say olive leaves. I give an example. So in his mission, they would go and check that olive tree periodically to see the time of the day where this active property might be at its optimum. And with them, they have the mass spectrometry or gas chromatography being driven on, behind a Jeep or a van. So imagine, rather than harvesting olives or the leaves of olives in October, for example, he would decide in the field, بالحقلي, after picking the leaves. I gave olive, leaves, but it could be any other, and testing it with the mass spectrometry or gas chromatography and deciding this is the peak, the optimum time to extract that active property from that plant. Imagine where science is and where medicine. I always say, God bless America. America made me. I owe America a lot beside my parents, Lebanon, and the American University of Beirut. But allow me to say, God bless Germany. I introduce Professor Michael Keusgen. Michael, please.
Thanks a lot, Arun, for this very kind words. I think we are not that many, so I can stand here feeling comfortable with you. What shall I say? I told in the break, Lebanon is turning out to be my second home. I'm also working on the plants you have here in Lebanon. So you have a very nice nature at the coastline and also in the mountains, and it was to study it. And also the time now is brilliant for nature here in this beautiful country. Well, we also spoke in the break about plants which may be good for mental health. And well, some of you asked me about St. John's wort, Hypericum perforatum. So nearly everyone knows it because it has a very strong antidepressive activity. You probably may know passion flower. It also helps to increase sleep quality. But what I want to do today is not to talk about these well-known plants. I want to talk a little bit more in general about essential oils. There are two reasons. You have a lot of essential oil plants here in your nice country. And secondly, nearly all of the essential oils are able to pass the blood-brain barrier, meaning they have a type of relaxing sedative effect on the brain, makes some stress relieving activities and so on. And there are many essential oils also here in Lebanon, which can be used for that purpose. Okay, the first interesting question is when you go to different essential oil plants, where to find the essential oil in the plant. So on the left, upper left, you see lavender. So it's well known for his sleep improving qualities, his stress releasing effect, and so on. And the essential oil is placed. Can we? No, we do not see it. Then I use it. The essential oil is placed here in that glandules on the surface. So that means so no need to extract it heavily because the essential oil is already on the surface. The same is true with peppermint. Peppermint also has these glandules. Unfortunately, it's broken, and the essential oil is in here. So it easily can be released, and we do not need any complex extraction. A little bit more difficult, it's with the fruits, with anise, for instance. Yeah, you know it all from some liquid spirits you have here. And so it's in here, and you have to press the fruits a little bit so to open this holes here so that the essential oil can get out. And the same is true with eucalyptus. Eucalyptus leaves also have a lot of essential oils, but they are inside the leaves. Therefore, you must press them, squeeze them a little bit, and so on before you extract the essential oil by steam distillation. Yeah, so this is the place where you find essential oils, and many of them are also used for foods and so on. Coming to the question how to produce essential oils, most of them are obtained by steam distillation. Also the most famous arak here in that country, so I like it very much. So you have to steam distill the anise fruits. You have to press them a little bit and then make steam distillation. You have very traditional equipment for doing it, but you are in a lucky situation. So you have a lot of essential oil in the anise fruit. So it doesn't matter how good the efficacy of the apparatus is. It will of the distillery. It will work in any case for this type of distillation and arak production. Also, an exception is citrus. You can't make a steam distillation with citrus because it's in the peel of, in the outer shell, in the peel of the citrus fruit, and you have to squeeze it out, the essential oil. So do not put citrus in a steam distillery, so it will not work properly. Yeah, then if you want to do bad things, you can use organic solvents to extract essential oils, but it will not give any good quality and avoids this cheap stuff. And also keep in mind, essential oils are a complex mixture of different kind of substances, and this complex mixture gives you the desired effect. So when we come back to arak, it's not only the compound called anatole. The flavor is made by many other compounds in minor concentration. So when you would pull anatole into alcohol, you never will achieve arak. So as a simple example, and it's the same with the other things. So we have complex mixtures which have to be taken into consideration. Yeah, then the wording, one plant contains a distinct essential oil. So there is only one essential oil in one species of plants, because essential oil is the name for a mixture of volatile compound by definition. So a plant does not contain essential oils, only one essential oil, which is a multi-component mixture. And the difference to fatty oil is when you take a drop of an essential oil, put it on a piece of paper and wait, and you see it will disappear without giving any residue. And this is also the quality proof of a good essential oil. So they have a lot of effects, diverse effects, and what is interesting for us today, so that they can go into the central nervous system without any big problems. So most of them have a broad antibiotic activity, meaning they are active against bacteria, against fungi, and also active against viruses. We must consider a toxicity as well when we are serious and good people. We must also speak about toxic effects. But with essential oil, it's quite easy in diluted form. They are less toxic, but never apply them in pure form, especially for young children. So it can be really dangerous. Okay, so coming to an example, so I want to speak a little bit about the French rose, Rosa gallica, but here in the Mediterranean, you mainly have the Rosa damascena, which contains more essential oil. So Rosa damascena usually is richer in essential oil than the French rose, but the French rose also grows here. So it's hard to distinguish. Yeah, when we are speaking about rose oil, so you have to harvest the rose flowers at early morning. Do not do it at noon. Then the essential oil is gone. Do it in the morning, early morning. But then the problem is the flowers are wet. So and you can't put the wet flowers into the distillery. You have to dry them a little bit. And here you see a quite bad example. It's not from your country, it's from Georgia. When you recollect those flowers after drying, well, you can ask yourself what you are distilling right now. Are you distilling the flowers, or you are distilling the wallpaper with all the paint? So this example is not good, but this is reality, what can happen when you step into the details. Anyway, you dry the flowers. You can't use wet flowers for distillation, which is really important. And then it comes to the distillery. So what you see here, it's the most used type for essential oil distillation. It's also called, I'm sorry for that expression, the Turkish type of distillery. And Turkey is flooding the Mediterranean area with this type of distilleries, mainly made by copper. So the main vessel you see here, where you put the plant material in, is made from copper, which is quite nice, by the way. Yeah, it works in a way that you need a boiler to generate the steam. So you do not cook the rose flowers. So you come with steam with a temperature of at least 110 Celsius degrees. Then the steam goes to the plant material. And at the top, you have still the steam with the essential oil. Then it goes into a condenser. It's the blue part on the right, which is cooled by water usually. And then you have a separator. And the separator is also the same since many, many centuries. And at the top of the separator, you can gain the essential oil. And then at the bottom, you have the water. But the water is also very useful. It's the so-called hydrolate. So this is water saturated with essential oil. And the most prominent example is the rose water. So you use it for food purposes, for bakery, and so on. So this would give, in case of rose distillation, the rose water. So you can use for flavoring purposes, and it's less expensive than the pure essential oil you have here in the upper part. So that's the principle. So these devices are very common here in that area because yeah, Turkey is a specialist for this. Yeah, we have a problem.
You can do the same thing, Professor, in Tripoli. In the
Yeah.
north part of Lebanon, we manufacture
Yeah.
even a better quality.
Yes, thank you. I also saw rose plantations in Bika area, so it's also done there. I'm absolutely sure because I saw the roses. The problem is energy. So you need a lot of energy to heat up the steam with very primitive equipment in our days. And I think this is my personal believing, we have to improve the steam production and make it more energy efficient. So coming to the pictures, so on the left you have exactly that what I showed you before. So this a typical Turkish distillery. The photo is not from Turkey, by the way, but I found exactly that what I showed you before outside of Turkey. And on the right, you see a modern one made in Germany, a tube distillery. It's more effective. And so you also can use this. Here it's used for rose distillation in Georgia. And I also found something interesting here in the Bika plain. Along the road, as I got told, so these things are coming from Syria. You can nicely use them for arak. I think the people are using it for arak production, but it's not that good if you have a nice plant with essential oils and you want to get a pure essential oil. So, but they look very, very nice. So I like them. So maybe you can tune them a little bit to get good quality, but this is also a traditional small scale distillery of the area. a lot about those things. Also here, this is a problematic step, the loading. You can't do it this way. This is not a good way because the rose flowers are pressed too much. Also, this here is not the optimum way to do it because the rose, you should avoid to compress the rose flowers to pack them too dense. And here you see a dense package of rose flowers. It looks nice, but it isn't. And yeah, on the next slide, you see two types of separators. And then you have to distill this rose wax a second time by a very small distillery to separate the pure rose wax from the essential oil. And that's one reason, because the rose oil is so expensive. But the rose wax, as you see it here, the white stuff, it would give the most expensive candle on earth. Believe me, strongly smelling. But the stuff is only an intermediate and not that what you will get when you buy pure rose oil. It's on the right. Yes, on the right you see the white stuff. This is rose wax, not rose oil. And so when it comes to small distilleries, it's a example from UK where I visited a small lavender plantation. Yeah, you see how it can look like. On the left, you have this steam generator, the heater fired by oil, simply oil. And then you have vessels here for the extraction, and the coolers are those tubes here. So also that construction is very popular. Maybe it's also coming from Turkey, I do not know. And here you see the separator with some lavender essential oil on the top. And when you taste this lavender oil, it has an awful taste. So there is a very special thing with lavender essential oil. You have to keep it for several weeks to get the typical odor. You know, lavender improves the sleep quality, but never takes the fresh oil. So the fresh oil has an awful smell. You have to keep it in glass bottles for maybe 6 weeks, and then it's nice. Yeah, here another close-up of separators, glassy separators, the same I showed before. Okay, the problem again. So you have this heater, and what we can do in Lebanon now. Coming to the countries, we could do this thing here. So I like this thing, and it will work. I'm 100% sure. And I wrote a proposal to the German GIZ to say, okay, we can do something for this famous country. Please help financiation or to make some small scale distilleries operated by solar power. But so for some reasons, I do not know, the GIZ in the moment is not in favor with Lebanon. I have to work on it, but they have the proposal on the table. So to make exactly this, what you see for Lebanon. So it's very easy, the idea. So I also, Maroon, can give you the picture. It's not a secret. It's my picture, but it's not a secret. You can start with solar energy. First, you have to do is you have to take the water from the cooler and give it to a heat exchanger to cool it down. and then use the heat to preheat the new water. Then you have stage 1 with solar thermal energy. Then this will give you about 90 degree. And then in the stage 3, you can use a solar panel to gain some electricity for a low power heater, because you do not need very much heating power to bring it from 90 degree to 110 degree, and then you can use it, and you recycle a lot of the energy by the cooler. So this will work definitely. I can tell you because I installed a similar thing in East Africa, and it worked nicely. So it must work for Lebanon. I'm pretty sure. So now coming to the quality, Dr. El-Khouri mentioned a lot what we can do. Yes, it's yeah, you have to use gas chromatography in an ideal case coupled with mass spectrometry, as you see it here. And then you can assign all the compounds you find in rose oil in this example. So this is an example of rose oil from Rosa damascena, the rose you also have here in your area. And what you see in red letters on the right are those long chain alcohols, which gives you, which will give the rose wax. And you have to separate in a second distillation the bluish compounds from the reddish ones. The reddish one are the wax, and the left-hand ones are those you want to get. And most of these compounds are volatile, so these are so-called monoterpenes and also sesquiterpenes. And the typical structure is like this. This is an example from peppermint, not related to rose oil, but basically all the monoterpenes have this structure, and they easily can pass the blood-brain barrier without any problems. And the biosynthesis of these compounds, so they are made of up by two isoprene molecules. And so this is the biosynthesis in the plant. So we know about 4,000 of these compounds, but the bioactivity is not that different. So the bioactivity is all in a way you have here. So this is a summary of the literature you have about rose oil, but it's also true for many plants you have here in Lebanon. So you decrease the respiratory rate, you have blood oxygen saturation, and as you decrease, and this is important, the autonomic excitation. So that means that it's positively affects your mood, and you're getting calmer, you're getting more relaxed, less awake. So this improves sleep quality. And in summary, you have a relaxing effect of the rose oil. And it's also good, helps against depression and stress. And you do not need that much. So even in aromatherapy, probably also practice here in Lebanon, you only need the smell, and you can calm down the people or the patient simply by smelling a nice essential oil. So aromatherapy is quite popular in Germany. I'm not the expert for this, I must confess it. But especially for aromatherapy, you need the maximum quality you can get because you also do not need a lot. You need small amounts, and you can make a nice therapy of the patient simply by smelling distinct essential oils. So some literature, of course, you also can distribute that presentation as a video or whatever. This is not a secret. So these are some reviews about the effects of rose oil. In total, you have about 6,000 publications about the effect of rose oil, and many thousand publications about essential oils and their effect on mental health. Yeah, coming back to other essential oils. When you go over that list, you have many of these plants, the anise. In your country also, eucalyptus is growing here nicely. Fennel you have. Then the pine trees, you have ginger, you do not have, but chamomile, you have spearmint, you have peppermint, you have sage, you have thyme, you have and many other plants. So at the end of my talk, I want to say a little bit about lavender. So it's grown in huge amounts in France, in southern France, in the Provence. It's very nice when you go there. In this season, you can see the flowering fields. And when you touch the plant, you really but you must be a little bit careful because we have different types of lavender. It's not only the official lavender, so which is called Lavandula angustifolia. So you also have other ones which are not that very helpful to improve sleep quality. Yeah, you have a relaxing effect of central nervous system activity. It can be used in aromatherapy, and again, overall mild effects, favorable side effects, not very much. So lavender is a good one. But to tell you a story, a co-worker of mine came into the lab 3 months ago, and he told me, "Oh, I have some friends. They started lavender plantation on the island of Sardinia, so in close to Italy and France, so the Western Mediterranean." So they were young, unexperienced, I think 30 years old, and they start with lavender on a nice field, and they also had a very cheap distillery. So this metal barrels I showed you before, they also bought a metal barrel and made some steam holes in it in the lower part, and in the upper part they collected the steam. So really primitive. And they asked for some analysis in my lab. Yeah, and it turned out that this lavender oil was rich in linalool. It's here the left one, but this is the wrong one. For the relaxing and sleep improving effect, we need the linalool acetate. So not the linalool. So this was a linalool rich species. It was not Lavandula angustifolia, definitely not, another lavender species, and it was useless for this purpose. So this can happen. And I discussed this also with essential oil traders in Germany. They told me, okay, the French people are very special in the area of Provence, that they do not get out their plants. So they're keeping their plants as a treasure. And most of the plants you can buy elsewhere are not the right one. And the only thing you can do, you can enter a field in the Provence by night, cut some twigs, and make a new plantation out of the field from someone else. Because that's what you get on the market usually is the wrong one. So keep this in mind if you are interested in lavender. You must have good friends in France for that, but do not start by your own. By a probability of 98%, you will pick the wrong species. I can guarantee. Because this was not the only attempt. I also was involved in a second attempt with setting up a lavender plantation, and again it was the wrong species. And the people also were so proud that they started out with lavender. Okay, be careful. You have to pick Lavandula angustifolia, and there are not very many places where you can find the true ones. So it's much more easier with lemon balm. So we only have one lemon balm, that's it. So this is easier. So again, you have a lot of compounds in the lemon balm, nice essential oils called citral. So therefore also the smell of the lemon balm reminds to lemon because of the two volatile compounds you can find on the right. And also the citronellal has a sedative effect. So the three on the right hand are the good ones. And Dr. El-Khoury expected that I will tell something about phenolic compounds. And here you see on the left the rosmarinic acid. It's a phenolic compound, but it's not volatile. And the rosmarinic acid has a virostatic activity, so which is quite nice, besides also a antibiotic activity, but it's virostatic and it can be used against herpes simplex, for instance. So this is good. So Maroon, you got your phenolic compound.
Thank you.
So another is which is quite nice is hop. You know it from beer. But there is also a story about it. When you go into detail, you have these glandules. So here, and this is a close-up of the glandules. And these glandules are closely related to those glandules you have in cannabis. Cannabis, also hemp, you know it. Also, unfortunately, from your country, but the chemistry of hop and cannabis is closely related. So under a chemical point of view, they are very close together. The hop does have the psychotropic effects of cannabis. It's safe, but it has sedative effects. So you can say, oh, that's fine. Let's drink a glass of beer every evening. And then you have a little bit of alcohol and you have a good hop extract. So it will work, yes. So, and this is also, I think, the reason why many people, especially in Germany and in Austria, like to drink a small bottle of beer every evening. No, this is really, really true. Because it has sedative effects, it will calm you down and improves quality of sleep. But you also can make, you can distill it. You can get a nice essential oil out of hop with all the bioactives. You do not need certainly the beer, but you need the essential oil of the glandules. You see on the right side in the lower corner. So a good plant. I think, I'm not sure, but in the wild, I guess I saw it. Yes, it's not cultivated. Usually it's cultivated in more north, but I'm pretty sure that I saw it in the wild.
Professor, we do have it, but it's a different species. So for beer, you have to get the best quality of
It's
a special species. That's why making beer depends on the hop and depends also on the fermentation process. That's what makes the best.
yeah, but
we do have hop in that.
yes, you also have the right species, Humulus lupulus, but you do not have the right variety. So the species is okay. You can try it. If you find it, I'm pretty sure that I saw it here in Lebanon. You can try it. So feel free. It's not psychotropic. No danger with it. So summing up, yes. So when you want to work with essential oils, think about the quality. It doesn't make sense to buy cheap East Asian garbage. It may be cheap, but it will not have the wanted effect, and the efficacy will be low. Maybe also you have some damaging effects. Unfortunately, good oil, good quality, high price. You can use essential oils, as I mentioned, in aromatherapy. You need only low quantities. And coming back to mental health, so essential oils in general are good against anxiety, against stress, against depression. But keep in mind, you should use the essential oils. I also need some essential liquid for my voice. Use the essential oils only in diluted form, and pure extracts are more or less toxic, or more pure essential oils. Do not use them in pure form, please. And then you are fine. And yeah, so that's it. Coming to the end, and I have to say thank you for this kind invitation. I am enjoying it very much. So it flows back. It does not come out. Okay. Because of physical reasons. So you will, with the wet flowers, you will cool down the steam in the extraction vessel so that the steam will not come out, and you will lose a huge amount of essential oil.
So this is just a practical reason.
A practical, physical reason.
Yeah, and you cannot extend the fractional distillation to do on it, or for industrial scale.
You see, the steam is condensing in the extraction vessel. Maybe we can go back, no problem. So can you imagine? So when where you have plant material, if it's wet, or taking the other side. So if this is wet, so the steam comes in, and then it condenses here in there, drops back, and then you have a lot of water with essential oil at the bottom. You never will get it out.
Okay.
So it's lost. And therefore you must come in with with a sufficient amount of steam, with sufficient pressure, and really to heat it up very quick so that you can get the steam with the essential oil at the top. With wet flowers, you would collect the oil here at the bottom, and then it's wasted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Question? Yeah.
So you already visited our area in the Bekaa Valley in Deir al-Ahmar, and now we are trying to extend the plantation of flowers for essential oils. So my question is, we have already a machinery which is extracting the oil by gas carbonic, CO2. So do you have any about it's good
yeah.
Way to extract the oil, or is you prefer the
yes,
distillation?
Okay, so with supercritic carbon dioxide, of course, you can extract everything out of the plant, not only the essential oil. But by the procedure, you must be careful when you reduce the pressure. You also may lose a lot of the essential oils. So supercritical carbon dioxide is made or designed as a replacement for extraction with chloroform, for instance. So in former days, people used chloroform, which is not that healthy for extracting all type of plant material. And this is a replacement for chloroform, so the supercritical carbon dioxide, and not a replacement for steam distillation. So, and when you want to get everything out of the plant material, then you have to do at first the steam distillation to get out the volatiles. And after that, you can work with a supercritical carbon dioxide or something else, with ethanol, whatever you like. But when you want to save the essential oil, please start with steam distillation.
So another question, please, about your system that you show us about solar energy use. So do you have any idea about the budget that we need to make something like that?
Yeah, well, I asked the German government for the budget, but they didn't answer yet. Yeah, it depends on the size. So, it's hard to say.
The first step, not a big.
I would say about 30,000 US dollars, something like that.
30,000.
Or even less. So it depends. So when you say, okay, you do not want to spend that much money on the distillery itself, and you're working with standard components. So you get this solar panels and also that solar thermal panels. So you can get them from the market. So there is no problem. Then you need the heat exchanger, which is a little bit more expensive, I guess, but I do not know if there are simple constructions here on the way. And so that's it. So I only can say if you want to build a distillery, let's say for a amount of up to 40 kilogram of plant material you want to distill at once. So then you need thermal energy of about 5 kilowatt. So this is not very much. So 5 kilowatt is not very much. So both electricity and thermal solar power. It's not very much. And so just to give you an idea how much energy you need.
We have to look to the clean energy now projects, because you have your Ministry of Environment and looking for projects for using solar energy.
Well, as you probably know,
I think it's a possibility.
This is a discussion we always have. Or it's the first discussion we have when Dr. El Khouri is picking me up at the airport. The discussion is always, why is Europe forgetting Lebanon? So, and very difficult. And also, I wrote several letters to the German embassy here for different issues. I never received a response. So this is the only embassy where you can write letters and you will not receive a response. So I think there is also some work required on the political level to keep these things ongoing. Because I'm absolutely sure that no one else is working with this type of solar energy in production of essential oils. But it would be really worse for many areas of the world to do this in that way. Yeah. But I'm keeping working on this, believe me.
Especially that we have 300 days of sun on our area.
Enough.
Yeah. Among the plants and essential oils, what type do you recommend to enhance the gut flora of the human flora?
Gut flora. Ooh, that's difficult. Well, because essential oils kill the gut. Essential oils will kill everything, so it's not a appropriate remedy. I have no idea if there is something among it which may help, but I wouldn't say that. So essential oils are taken orally if you have in diluted form or as a tea, if you have problems with the stomach or if you have a cold or something like this, you can use it externally for topical for skin problems and so on. But I think you can't improve the microbiome with essential oils. It will kill everything.
Thank you.
Remember, yes.
Essential oils have a potent,
Yes.
potent antimicrobial activity. And remember, in clinical medicine, before we came up with the anti-biograms, means those discs that you put them on the agar plate while you're, spreading the specimen, all right? Like if you take an oral swab and you smear it on an agar plate. After the growth happened, 24 hours to 72 hours, we have the antibiotic discs on the agar plate, okay? These are synthetic antibiotics, amoxicillin, erythromycin, the macrolide, or whatever, levofloxacin, and so on and so forth. In the past, before the synthetic antibiotics came up, we used in medicine the essential oils that Professor Keusgen was describing as antimicrobials to see the effect of that essential oil on that specific bacteria. So I do not recommend that you take it orally, as you said, for two main reasons. You have to dilute it extremely, otherwise it will be corrosive to the mucosa, the oral mucosa, all the way to the stomach mucosa and the intestinal mucosa. Whether it helps in microbiome or not, absolutely not, like Professor Keusgen mentioned, because it has a potent antimicrobial activity. So, plus, remember, for children, it could cause a bronchial spasm, or on the upper level, a laryngo spasm, and it will kill the child. So you want to use them diluted, in a glass. And if you're burning it, stay away from it if it's concentrated and high quality. If you're sitting close to it, you might have a rhinoesophageal irritation. So you'll start doing, and you don't know where it's coming from.
Okay, thank you very much. My second question, more important than the first one, what type of plants or essential oil do you recommend to counteract the side effects of corona vaccine?
Very, very nice question. Okay, the side effects I wouldn't say that there is anything. So what we discussed when the corona crisis started, to make a good prevention from corona infections by essential oils. So this is quite it's possible. So you have eucalyptus oil, for instance, you have basil oil.
Excuse me.
Those things,
Excuse
wait a
me.
second. Those things act against coronaviruses, and you can use them in a preventive manner. But so the side effects from corona vaccination, if you need a antidepressive effect, for instance, so you have some essential oils I mentioned. You can start with rose oil. You can take also the lavender oil, of course, but to find something against the full panel of corona vaccination side effects, I think with essential oils it's also nearly impossible. Or maybe you have another opinion. Also, an issue we discuss frequently.
This is going to be discussed tomorrow, and it's going to be discussed in full, believe me. And we're going to put that question to rest tomorrow. Anyway, thank you. Oh, please.
How long we keep the effects, the good quality of oil, and how long we can conserve it in bottle, or
Yes,
it can be conserved for a long time.
thank
How
you.
long?
Yes, so you have to store the essential oil in the cold and in the dark. So if you store it in a brown glass bottle and at a cold place, then it's good for some years. And it's also possible if the oil is turning to brownish, so you easily can see it when the color of the oil is not nice anymore. It's getting more brown and brown and brown. Then you can redistill it to save the oil. But it depends, of course, on the type of oil. But the general rule is to keep it cold and, in any case, light protected. And then you can say 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then you must be cautious.
What about the safflower oil? Because we try it, we have our machinery and we extract the safflower. We plant in our
Yes.
area and we extract it. And I mix the essential oils with safflower. So do we have the same effects of the
Yes.
essential oils of the lavender? And I tried it with the lavender.
Yes,
and
yes,
eucalyptus.
yes. Yes, yes, you can do it that way, but also keep in mind you have also unsaturated fatty oils which are prone to oxidation. And then when you take this type of oils, then they are prone to oxidation, and you also cannot keep them forever. So it's maybe 1 year I would keep such a type of mixture you describe. It will be good for 1 year approximately, maybe 2.
And we can use it for massage, for
Yes,
cosmetics
yes.
also.
Yes, of course. But there's a problem is with the fatty oil you are using. It contains unsaturated fatty acids, and they will oxidize over time. And then the problem is there, not with the essential oil.
I was just wondering, when he says that it's toxic in their natural form, what do you mean as like flowers? So if we smell the lavender plant as is, or the rose, could it be toxic, or does it have sedative effect?
No. So it's not toxic when you simply smell the flowers. It's not toxic when you are drinking the tea. You only must consider toxicity when you are working with the pure essential oil. So only for that. So, but to smell lavender, so it's nice, but it's not toxic. To drink lavender tea or lemon balm tea, it's nice. It's not toxic. To drink peppermint tea, it's non-toxic.
And can the effect be compared to the one that's found from their essential oils?
Well, when it comes to mental health, I would say yes. When it comes to antibiotic effects, I would say no.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
About the distillator, because you show us copper, it's in copper,
Yes.
but we have many in stainless steel. What do you think about stainless steel?
Yes.
We have some in stainless steel, yes.
Yes, a very simple question. No, very simple answer. Copper acts as a catalyst. And especially for rose oil, you need the copper because some distinct compounds which are essential for the good aroma, are produced during the distillation. So when you're using copper like this here, you are forming some aroma compounds during distillation by oxidation, because copper is a catalyst. And when you're using stainless steel, like the other examples, looking for that here. So this is stainless steel. Then you will end up with another quality, which is lacking by some aroma compounds which are formed during distillation. So personally, I would prefer copper also to get this special components which are formed during oxidation, which never will happen with stainless steel vessel.
Thank you, Professor Keusgen. We really appreciate it. Reminding you that Professor Keusgen arrived last night. He made this special visit to Lebanon. He'll be leaving tonight at 8 p.m. Just imagine the sacrifice for Lebanon and the Lebanese. You'll always have a, place in Lebanon, and you're always welcome. I want to add one little note, and just assisting Dr. Keusgen, because I assist him. Using copper, you will get also, other than acting as a catalyst, you will get a uniformity of temperature. You cannot get it in stainless steel except if you use a serpentile, heating system, which is very expensive. It has to be double jacketed, and you've got to use it. So, Professor, I'm wondering, Mrs. El-Khoury, we visited her town. We saw this expensive German oil pressing machine that we asked you if we could purchase it, you remember? And we got the quotes, but you were offered this by the German embassy, correct? She bought it from the same company that we contacted, and they got her the big one. And what she's doing, she pressing, she got the biggest size.
The safflower. We bought it in Oikotech in Germany, but it was a support.
Yeah, but Mrs. Khoury, may I ask you something? We visited your place out there. We didn't see anything except this oil press. Are you hiding other technologies behind the walls?
We have a lot. We have the agro-food system. All the are making a lot.
Yeah,
the agro-food. We have our kitchen. We have a lot of things.
Okay, so the plan is clear to revisit here.
Yeah, we're gonna revisit her. That's what she's doing.
But what is interesting now is your system. We have to work to get it.
Yes,
it's very interesting because we are extending the plantation of medicinal plants, lavender, romarin.
we've been
rosemary.
working for the last 14, 15 years on getting something to Lebanon. We came here, we met with the monks, and we tried to, rent or use the lands in order to create an extraction facility. We still talk about it almost, regularly. So this is a project, Indigo. Hopefully we can do a, quite an advanced technology, and Professor Keusgen knows the places for it. I visited those plants that manufacture what you've seen. He showed you the cylindrical ones. Mm-hmm. These are very efficient. I visited the plant with him. He's the consultant, for the company on the chemistry and pharmaceutical side.
But today we are talking about Turkish distilleries.
We don't want to hear about
maybe in
Professor.
future. Maybe stop a second. Maybe in future we will talk about the Lebanese model. So this is what we want to do.
Are you advertising Turkish technology here,
no,
Professor Keusgen?
You see, the title of my slide. The title of my slide clearly is.
Wait a minute.
Clearly, oops. No. The solar system for Lebanon. So we're talking about Lebanese
Yes.
model for the future.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking. And now you're talking. But really, and I mean it. If you want copper, you know, distillating vats, they can do it in Tripoli, and there are places they do it excellent. They can do them in Sidon. They can do them in the Bekaa. We have really excellent manufacturing facilities that we're going to take Professor Keusgen next time. We should go to Tripoli, to Sidon, and those places. You're going to forget about Turkey anyway. So, okay, one more point, another point. This solar system, he did it for Eastern Africa. We're talking about Eastern Africa, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and the others. And this is not expensive. He said 30,000. I doubt it because he's calculating it on the German economy. But no, in Germany, definitely you're going to pay engineering time and drawings and whatnot. But you could get the solar panels. I referred the people to you for the solar panels. And yeah, yes. But what's costly, Professor Keusgen, are the batteries, the lithium batteries to store, you know, the energy. But we don't need storage in Deir al-Ahmar because the sun starts at 5 in the morning till 6 or 7. You see what I mean? So you will be saving on the 5 kilowatt, I believe, more than $12,000 if you want to. Just the last one, Professor, when you mentioned cannabis, you were a bit embarrassed, and you said you know it, unfortunately, in your country. Well, cannabis used to be a curse, but right now it's a blessing. And we're using it for medicinal extracts, you know, although they use it as for cancer treatments, for pain, as a pain. But this is another topic. We're not going to go into it because it's been proven that the effect has been exaggerated in the studies. And in many states in the United States, they're imposing no cannabis usage. But we'll discuss this tomorrow. All right, God bless you all. It's been a pleasure and great seeing you here at the Antonine University.